want to hear about the conversations that you had with your collaborators about two things, and that is the way in which you're going to handle domestic violence and the way in which you're going to handle the crime scene photographs. Let's start with the latter, and about, I guess, the decision editorially to include them, and I guess how you came to have them.
Okay, well, how I came to have them was a result of, and this is where, the sort of painstaking process of the film in general, which is, so take the three people, prominent people in the prosecution that are in the film. There was no one in the prosecution that wanted to talk to me, and they didn't for many months, and it was through sort of a painstaking process with Gil Garcetti that he finally relented and said, okay, I'll do this. I trust you enough to sit and do an interview and talk about something I haven't talked about for almost 2 decades. And up to that point, Bill Hodgman, the deputy DA, wouldn't talk to me at all. And because Gil did, he said, okay, I'll have an off-the-record conversation with you. And so I go to his office and we talk about this, and he realized that hearing me out, he understood where I was coming from, that this was, I didn't have a specific agenda. I was just trying to explain how all this came to be and how the verdict came to be the way it was. And I thought it had so much to do with both what went on in the courtroom, but what all these things that went outside the courtroom. And so it's only through sort of that conversation and then him saying, okay, I want you to come back here and I want to give you my presentation that I've been giving to law enforcement over the last 20 years. And he gives me a presentation that involves the crime scene photos, where he's saying, and so at that point I just said matter-of-factly, this is pretty incredible. I don't know how many people have seen this publicly, but would you be willing to let us show this? And he said, sure. Now, the point of it to me is, and this gets back a little bit to your question about the media, I feel like we got so lost in this, in terms of what this was all about, that I felt that both for just the general need to understand the story, but also in the course of how long this story plays out, in this rendering, that you're lulled into a sense of, look at all this stuff that this became about. From a media our obsession with Marcia Clark, our obsession with Judge Ito, let alone just the conversation about race. And so how this appropriated how we were absorbing this thing. And it was everything about what actually happened on June 12th, 1994. So I felt that you needed to really understand, this is why we're here. This is the brutality of that crime. And you need to sort of absorb that in a real, true fashion. And I don't think, frankly, and I'll say the collective I don't think we have done that. And I think that was a very necessary thing for people to engage with. And so that's why I felt it was important.